Okay, I guess time being 7:05. Old business, Catherine Hunoff, request for drainage. Applicant is returning to request a drainage permit to install tile drainage in Yankton County. Said property is legally described as the east one half of the northwest one quarter, section 24, township 95 north, range 56 west, and the northwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter of the south one half of the southwest one quarter, section 13, township 95 north, range 56 west. Hereinafter referred to as Utica North Township, County of Yankton, State of South Dakota. Catherine or Francis? Okay.
Sure.
If you'd like to state your name and.
Troy Hunoff.
Okay.
So from the last meeting, we kind of changed where we're going to be at, where we'd like to outlet. The rest of the plan is the same, just where the outlet's going. Our proposal this time around is to exit the south field in the northeast corner and run it east through Terry Schramm's field there, hitting two and a half of his three low spots there along the road. And then once we get to the acreage, we cut around to the south and enter Terry's pasture there, running to the east towards 81 until we get to Mark Heirig's pasture there, and then we'll cut back in kind of towards the road there, and then swing back up and empty at his fence line there, just to the west of the culvert that runs under 81, which will run into a blue line on the east side of 81.
Is Terry gonna do some draining in there too then, or is that just?
Not at this current time, I do not believe, but I think down the road, he's talked to us about possibly tying in when down the road sometime, but.
And that was a good sized pipe you were putting in, wasn't it?
I believe
10
15.
or 12 or 15?
Yeah.
So it has capacity.
Yeah, yep, because we planned in case Terry does add on, that way it can hold that water too, so we don't back up at all there.
So on this map, you're gonna end up the white line ends up about, I don't know.
Can you see that?
Yeah, yep.
It goes all the way up to the ditch on 81.
So this will go to this point?
Yeah, yep. Sorry.
It continues on
Yeah, it goes right to the fence line by 81.
right down like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, can put more of a curve in.
And you're gonna cross the highway on the west side of the homestead there?
Yeah, just to the west of the home place, we got permission from Mike, I believe from the county, to bore under the road there into the south field and then hook up with that main and then go east. And then we also got approval from the state to dump into that 81 ditch where the culvert is located there.
Yeah, I see you had all that in there.
Okay.
So you're gonna be going through the Schramm ground and then some high-risk ground?
Yes, that is correct.
And that's pipe in the higher ground too, right? That's pipe all the way through.
Yeah, yep, we're gonna be running perforated pipe up until Terry's pasture, which starts just south of that acreage, just west of the intersection there. And then we'll be running solid pipe, since it is pasture.
Through the grass.
Yeah, so we don't run into any plugging up down the road from the roots and stuff. So that will be solid pipe from the pasture to 281.
Perfect.
You got the right-of-way for the state highway?
Where does the blue line start?
I believe the creek starts just on the east side of 81. what's his name? Harold Shrum's ground, and it flows through his place down to the Jim River.
Does the blue line make it all the way to Highway 81?
I believe it doesn't start in the ditch. I believe it starts just right at the edge of the ditch, and then flows through his place there. Is that correct? Yeah.
That's the reasoning for the culvert in Highway 81.
Yeah. 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 Based off the elevation, it should flow. It will flow through the culvert there, across underneath 81, and then hook up with that stream or a creek and go down, make its way down to the river.
You guys have your blue line maps, don't you, by township?
Yeah, you gave those to me. I didn't bring mine, but yes, you did. We should all have them.
I didn't bring mine either, that's why I asked. Can you bring that up? You'll grab the big one.
Yeah, if I remember right, there was a gap between the highway and the blue line,
I'll go grab the big map.
east side of the highway.
Have you talked to Harold about possibly getting an easement?
I know Francis has, and about the easement, and he's on board.
Yeah, Harold Trump, yeah, he has no problem with it.
Okay. As long as there's an easement, as long as there's an easement, I've got no problem.
Yeah.
I was just looking for the easement in here.
Right.
For high rigs, I didn't.
I didn't see one for high rigs either.
We're still in talks with Mark about that, and so we don't have an approved easement as of tonight for Mark, but we do have one for Terry and Harold, I believe.
Yeah, Terry.
I was under the assumption that we didn't need an easement for Harold, so I'll need to touch base with Brian on that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure you do need one for Harold, but maybe.
Well, that's what Brian, when I worked with Brian on getting these easements, at that time, there was an indication that we did not need one for Harold, so that's why we don't currently have one,
Oh, okay.
so.
Because that blue line looks like it comes right up to the east side of
I don't
81.
have the map in front of me.
I
I thought it came in from the south, but just going by memory, you got the map.
yeah.
Yeah, if I remember, right, there was just a short stretch between the highway and the blue line, that's what I recall.
Yeah.
But
It looks to me
maybe,
like it's-
maybe not.
It's a defined water course written in the dirt, but it's not a defined one by the Corps of Engineers. That's our question.
Well, that blue
Okay.
line on here, on the map, touches the Highway 81, but, you know, I haven't been out there to look at that.
Add yours on that. Add extras.
Here, it's got- Well, that's right, these are red lines.
The red lines slash blue lines, fine.
Washdown, right?
Yeah.
Is that central?
Yeah, central.
Washdown's on the east side.
Oh, okay, that's, you're right, you're right.
What page were
Should be a Washdown.
It's
It's
hard
about
to s-
4 in.
It's hard to see
Four
here.
or 5 in.
we? Gotcha.
Fifth.
Do you have something
24
clearer,
would be 10,
Brian? This
so
isn't
straight
very, very easy
Between
to
24 and
distinguish.
Red lines right there.
See the gap.
According to this map, it does not come over to the highway.
No, it shows a long ways from it, but there is a little,
I agree, there's a waterway there, it's just
There's a
not a
waterway
defined
there,
waterway.
yeah.
yeah.
It's not a blue line.
When they were testing it, they probably didn't have a,
Uh,
Yes.
it's not, it's there.
It's close.
There's a lake or wet area or wetland.
There's a stock dam in there.
Is that what that dot is, stock dam?
And there's one at the end, the southern end of this blue line, and there's one midstream. Either way, that's right on 81. It carries through.
You know, I guess if you go off the maps we had before, if I'm looking at the right spot here, it shows it bumping right up there.
But that's a stream map. That's not a blue line map.
Oh, it's FEMA blue lines.
There's no such thing as FEMA blue lines.
Well, that's what it says here.
I understand, but USGS is the actual official blue line map.
Okay.
So, and you can use that as you see fit. Traditionally, USGS is the.
USGS is what's referenced in the ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah, USGS is what's actually referenced in the ordinance as well. Now, if I remember right, talking to Lori up on this, this is gonna hit, it goes through high rigs, and there's already a rock outfall there. So it's going to hit that through the ditch, through the other side. Then I believe it is gonna, hit a waterway.
It's a waterway.
Waterway through there, on Harold Schramm's property, and then hit a blue line, which will hit his dam, and then overflow to the north, and then carry along that north.
Goes up through 300 and then hooks over to the Jim River.
Yeah.
And then to the north, and then to the east.
I'm not seeing the dam up here.
The simplest thing is to get an easement.
Maybe I'm looking in the wrong spot.
Right,
They
there's
have
the
it.
dam.
What?
From Harold?
From Harold.
They already have. Oh, you didn't get them?
Yeah, one from
There's just a
Harold.
little blue circle, kinda.
Well,
Yeah, in our aerial to see better what is exactly there.
On the big screen.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it isn't seen.
I don't know if it matters, I guess, as long as Harold is gonna give an easement, I guess
Yeah.
it should be okay.
Actually, tell them,
You've talked to Harold about an easement
Yes.
already?
Not an easement, we've talked to him about what we're doing, and Francis, you know.
He had no problem with it.
Yeah.
I told him, I showed him that map, how it's all running and coming through, and then about the blue line, and he said he had no problem with it.
So we could,
But we could get an easement.
I
from it.
would recommend getting an easement because then it's in writing, and then when you're all done, you get it registered, and it's there.
Yeah,
You know.
okay.
That-
Because if Harold passes away and the land goes, and the next guy goes,
Yeah, no,
that-
yeah,
that-
we-
Yeah, that'd
so-
be no problem.
yeah, we can do that.
We can do that.
So I think the only thing that would be missing would be Harold's and then, High Rigs.
And you can have them by
Easements.
the time they come to the
Yeah.
regular board, right?
The
Drainage board.
drainage
Drainage
board
board.
would be July 15,
We could have
because
those.
our first meeting is July 2nd, which is next week.
Yeah.
And you don't have enough time to advertise for that.
and then planning commission's the 9th, and then yours would be 7 days later, so that'd be the 16th.
Oh, we're July 2nd, I was doing the first, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. We may ask you some questions later.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the project? Hearing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak against the project?
Well, I'm Mark Hyrigs,
Oh, okay.
so,
Thanks, Mark. I didn't know.
Come on up.
I do have some concerns about the amount of acres
that will be draining through my 10. If I read the maps correctly, what the Hunoffs are planning on doing, and if Terry hooks up and what naturally already drains through my acreage, I'm gonna have around 400 acres draining through my 10. And that's a lot of water. So I talked to Francis's contractor last Tuesday, and he told me where he was planning on going, and he says he's not going to exit right at the riprap, but further to the north, and then let the water flow into the ditch and then down towards the culvert. It just, 15-inch tile line makes me really nervous going through my land. So that's basically my concern. You know, if we have a large water event and I've already got all of the natural water flowing through, plus all of the water from the tile line flowing through, is this going to cause water to back up and create issues on my acreage? So that's the concerns I have. I've had a lot of people advise me not to sign an easement. So one of the questions that I've got is, if I do not sign the easement, what happens then?
Well, a lot of this water comes that way anyway without the tile line, right?
That I don't know. I have not had a chance to look at the map, so I would have to rely on you folks to tell me whether that water, you know, from
And this really
that
would,
25-acre field way on the north and the west that's being drained, that's almost 1.3 miles from where it's going to discharge.
well, that's not unusual. Now, the tile is gonna go through your property, so it'll be exiting into the highway ditch there.
That's what the contractor told me, yes.
So, you should actually have less water coming through your property than, you'll have it coming through the tile, but you should have less surface water in reality coming through your property.
Well, if none of Terry's is being hooked up now, I don't see how, I mean, the solid tile from the corner of Ginsbach's through Terry's pasture, solid through my pasture, I don't see where it's going to help the drainage on my property all that much.
I see what you're saying. I guess I'm looking at the water is coming down the ditch of the Lesterville Road right now. But that's not on your property either, is it?
My property is, this is where they're planning on coming with
Yeah.
the tile, through here. My property is there. They're planning on coming through here and exiting right up here.
I think you'll actually see an improvement in your situation there, because the surface water will now be going through a pipe underneath the ground rather than over the surface.
And if this outlet causes any erosion into the ditch, you know, they're responsible for taking care of that. You said there's some rocks someplace right here?
Yeah, this is rocked, right here.
Okay.
You can see it from here to here. There's the culvert. This is rock. He's planning on putting it up here. And then letting it flow down in the ditch towards that.
It won't come back on you though.
Well, I would hope not, but
How big is the culvert? Oh, it's one of them.
That's gonna have.
So you got a 12-inch tile going into a 5-foot.
well, 15-inch, but yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know.
No.
Is it normally exiting here, come into the ditch here, or does it come here, or where's the natural flow coming?
Water flows back through here and around, through here and around, and then down the Westerville Road through.
So where you'd see the big benefit is if Terry hooks onto it at a later date, so you can wind up with a big sponge
Well,
over here.
if he tiled this, yes,
Yeah.
but of course this is pasture and that's gotta be solid.
Oh,
But this
This-
is all draining to the ditch
Ditch.
right now, so essentially you're just rerouting this water underneath your property and directly to, instead of over your property. So
It-
all of this is
Plus-
going through the tube.
Plus this beyond, this is Terry Schrump's here.
Yeah.
Hunnif's is up here probably. Yeah, this is all dropping into the road ditch right now. We're trying to keep the water out of the road ditches to maintain the road's quality. If you stay wet all the time in those road ditches, you can have an
So,
effect.
no, I did ask the contractor about putting surface inlets here, and he said with having the exit up here, that they would actually act more like outlets.
yes.
So,
We've had that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
So-
get back,
other than being a good neighbor and letting the water flow through there, I don't see any improvement. Seriously, I don't see any improvement for myself.
Well, if this water now is coming down the ditch, down the road ditch here, and then flowing across your property to get into this open ditch here,
Yeah.
that water is not gonna come through there anymore because it'll be
Terry's
coming.
not tiling this now.
Not now, but Hunnif's is also coming down this road ditch right now.
No.
Yeah, it is. It's open drainage is coming in there. Surface drainage.
Surface drainage, right?
Let's see if on your map here. You know, this is coming this way. Now, I mean, I driven by there, I see the water where it comes out there. And then that's coming down. Comes through here. You said it comes through here.
Yeah, you can see where the water coming through here and here.
Yeah, that corner is wet. It doesn't
It's
flow
just-
through, it seeps through.
Mark, question. I mean, I've driven by this. If you could add on and drain some of that wet spot on the east side of your property, would that help you?
Oh, on the west side, you mean?
Oh, I think he's got.
This
Oh,
area
here.
Here.
But you see, when I talked to the contractor, he was saying, if we tiled this, I'd have to have a lift. Because he's gotta bring that tile line from depth,
You don't have elevation.
You don't have enough elevation.
Okay,
to dump,
but,
you know, to dump it into the ditch.
but if you, say you put a lift in and could dump that water out, would that help you?
Well, but I could do that on my own.
Yes, but you're not, if you can get the water, trust me on this, because I'm on the downhill side. If you can get the water from other people into a pipe, it isn't on top of the ground causing the problem. And I'd be happy to show that to you.
Yeah, if this project goes through, this should be drier.
Yeah, I think
Just-
your overall circumstances will improve.
And if Terry, which I would suspect he probably would at some time, you can see all the
Yeah, you can see
surface
where it
drainage
naturally drains.
comes, and, you know, if that gets tiled, that'll eliminate a lot of that. And,
But you see, this is the one that makes me so nervous. This says 25 acres here, but this actually drains also. Okay, this drains onto this, so you've got 40 acres here, you've got 60 acres here, you've got 60 acres here, you've got 40 acres here, you've got a 40 here. This all drains, that's another 60, you've got 77 here. It's almost 400 acres draining through my 10.
well, it'll be in a pipe underground.
It's in a pipe.
Again, Mark, I'd be happy at your convenience to look at what this looks like. Because I've got, Mr. Healy and I have the same situation.
Does anybody have their LiDAR from last week, the last meeting, showing the whole drainage of that land there?
Mark,
didn't bring my
happy
stuff
to do
from last night.
I would certainly like to look at
And
more,
po- I'm 4 to 5 miles away.
Yeah, as far as the number of acres, it's in a pipe, so it's, you know, it's either a 12-inch pipe or a 15-inch pipe or a 10-inch pipe that determines.
Does anybody know how many gallons per minute flow through a 15-inch tile?
Depends on the head pressure.
Chart,
But-
elevation.
But the other thing you gotta remember is, once it gets ahead and it drains some of that underground stuff, you could, of course, this should be the exception, constant accessory, but you've got a place, you've got a reserve for that, for a rain to go before it starts to run off. And that's, you know, that's the big difference. And again, happy at any time.
Well, if you wanna stop out sometime and
Sure.
obviously you know where I live.
Yeah, okay. I live over on 443,
Okay.
and I'm on 298, south of 298 and 443.
Okay.
And I'm giving my number, and
Yeah, I could just all but guarantee you that you're gonna have an improved situation there just with this project alone. Even though you may think there's a lot more water coming through that pipe, your property's gonna be drier because,
In fact, the more acres you put into the pipe, the more it helps your situation there.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
I can show you where I'm getting water from a pipe, and I can show you where I'm getting water not from a pipe.
yeah,
And you can decide which looks better.
okay. Well, I'm gonna wanna look before I sign anything.
That's smart.
So,
We
and
try-
then,
Oh, good.
clean up afterwards, obviously grading, fencing, planting grass.
Just a second, let me answer that question for you. Mark, who's responsible for fixing the fence after the tile plow goes through? Put your hand up.
Francis, you mean?
What?
You mean Francis, or who are you
Francis.
asking?
Well,
What,
I'm
the
assuming,
Hunos? Okay.
Mark, or excuse, not Mark, Troy, put your hand up. Yeah, okay, solve the problem?
Okay, well, it's just, and then if there's any issues,
That's why you have the easement. You spell that out in the easement. They're responsible for putting it in, they're responsible for maintaining it, they're responsible for cleanup.
any future, say it blows out.
Yep. Yep,
Blows out, floods pasture,
Yep.
creates issues,
yep,
damages.
yep. That's why we have easement.
50% of this ordinance was developed. I mean, we didn't develop this just to drain, we developed it to protect down people like you. So that otherwise, if we wouldn't have had this ordinance, and they could have dropped it at the property line and said, and there was that going on, tough luck, it's coming your way. I mean, they've developed a really nice project here. I commend them for all the work they've done on it.
But your rights are protected too.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a call then.
Happy anytime.
Okay. All right, I guess we'll go from there then. Okay, thank you.
I'd ask the question to Hunos. Is there an issue with a Tyler coming in? I mean, is time an issue here?
Is time an issue? No, I mean, this spring he was pretty booked up, but with wet weather, I mean, they're kind of spreading it out now, so.
Okay.
Anytime, you know, this year will work for us, so.
Okay.
We're not like, we don't need it by like the 1st of July or whatnot, but.
Okay.
That's good.
I
Mary?
do have a question though. Okay, so if this should go through, what are our rights if Mr. Harricks decides that he wants to would want to tie into our pipe and, which may eventually, if he wants to tie into our pipe with holes in it for drainage and it plugs up the main line, what what's the circumstances there, or what are our rights regarding that issue? You know what I'm asking?
John, that's why you have an easement.
Okay. Because that doesn't say that in the easement that we,
I understand. And
okay.
that's why this is to protect
so
both.
so then basically
both
what,
sides.
what you're saying is we need to create a easement that covers the whole situation and not use this easement that we currently have.
Okay, so then I have a question. If Terry isn't putting on now, does he have to get permission from anybody to add into the tile line?
Take it away, Sherry.
I guess my opinion on this is I wouldn't add any tile to this. If you want to tile your property, I would run a separate line because it's so close to where you would be draining. And you are at the tail end where the pressure is the highest. And if you put a little short chunk on something that has a lot of pressure, you can tell which way the water is going to flow. I guess from a hydraulic standpoint, I would not suggest doing that. But if you want to put up, if they're putting a hole in and you want to lay a pipe beside it and put some of your own in, I'd say you could probably go for that. But I would not suggest tying into this 15-inch solid pipe.
Yeah. Well, I was actually talking about Terry. You know,
Terry-
on the land
Terry would
that's
have to
going
do-
to go through.
He would have to get a permit.
He
Oh,
would have to
if
get a permit
Terry
for
was
that,
going to add
yeah.
into this
Yeah.
to drain his,
Well, that's what I understood from earlier in the meeting.
Yeah.
You know,
he-
'cause-
Well, yeah, he'd have to come in for a permit.
He'd have
Just
to come in
finished
and-
that.
But,
We just finished one, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, then because additional land is being added to the tile line, does he have to get an easement for me to have that water through, or is the Hunoff easement already allows that water to come through?
That would already allow that water.
That's what I thought.
yeah.
So how far away can people tie into this tile line then?
Well, the thing you're gonna run into is capacity, and they, you know, they don't want to overload the capacity of it, but, you know, if Terry ties into that, again, is gonna make your situation better, because that water is no longer
Yeah.
gonna flow into that road ditch and into your property. I mean, that's, for your sake, you'd go home and pray that Terry wants to tie into this thing.
Yeah, I think that would probably help.
I think, Troy, am I right? Kevin is gonna tile their place, Kevin Hanoff? That's going south, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's gonna be no more water from the west coming, because the other property to the west of the Hanoff of Troy and Catherine's Hanoffs has been tiled already too.
And that's going,
That's going up into the north, it outlets into a pasture. We approved that
Yeah, that was
4 years ago, probably.
At least, yeah.
So I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say you're gonna have no more water coming from the west. Cherries would be the only one probably that would tie into there. I don't know how that other ground lays to the south. Initially, the applicant was going to put it into the road ditch. You would have got the full benefit of it
yeah.
if we asked them to take the tile line where they did now. I mean, it's at more expense to them, but,
Yeah, I watched the meeting minutes.
okay.
then you saw we were trying to protect you even though you weren't here. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I guess, is there anybody else here that would speak in opposition to the project? Hearing none, we'll close the public portion of the meeting, and we'll discuss it amongst ourselves.
We done findings of fact on this already?
No.
I don't recall the last time reading through all of them. I don't think we did.
I don't think so either.
Well, it's been here 3 times, and I wasn't here for the first one.
All right.
Um,
You want me to run through them?
Okay.
Well, you have a motion first.
No, we don't have to have a motion.
We need to do findings of fact first.
And then we can have a motion after that.
Okay.
Do you want to do 3.09?
I will.
Okay.
309 is evaluation of permit applications. Number 1, the flow or quantity of water to be drained will not overburden the water course into which the water will be drained.
Shouldn't, that's a big blue line when it gets into that blue line there.
And we've said that it's all going there anyway,
Yeah.
because it goes down the ditch and under the road and to the blue line.
And there's a 3 or 4 foot culvert in the 81, so.
There
Okay.
seems to be concern with the size of the pipe. You know, you're talking about pressure in the pipe. If it's properly sized, there won't be any pressure in it.
No,
Pipe.
but the more you add to it, the more the pressure is a problem.
Well,
Well, you'd have to get full.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, the pipe, if
And-
it's properly sized, will
Yes,
accept
yeah,
all that
I
water.
agree.
It
We need to
goes-
see some numbers and calculations to, you know, maybe it should be a larger pipe.
well, that's a pretty
That's a,
shallow
15
slope
inches.
there. I mean, if you have a real heavy slope,
You can build up more head pressure.
more head pressure, but you
Well, it carries more water with more slope,
Yeah,
which would mean you need a smaller pipe.
well, you're gonna have more head pressure then.
Well, the more slope you have, the more water the pipe can carry.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So.
the contractor is the one that came up with this 15-inch pipe?
Yep.
Is that double walled or smooth walled?
It will be double walled in certain spots. If it's beyond 10 feet, there's a couple spots where it's like 12 to 14, and then he's gonna put a double wall there just for the weight of the dirt on top of it, but, otherwise it will be just a single, yeah.
Or he felt that was sufficient capacity to put Terry's in there then too?
Yes, from my understanding, yeah.
We're assuming so, I guess, yeah.
Okay. So are we good to number 1 then?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, the drainage will not flood or adversely affect the land of the lower proprietors, or in the case of an impediment to drainage, whether such an impediment will not flood or adversely affect upstream landowners.
No, it actually should help
Goes underneath the property.
property because it's going underneath, yes.
Number 3, easements will be granted where required. We've talked about that. Number 4, the drainage will not negatively affect ag productivity.
Should increase it.
Number 5, the land affected or the land drained is and will remain rural in character. Number 6, when the land to be drained is rural land, the presumption and factors set forth in 46A, 10A, 20 will be satisfied. You want me to,
That means it's going to a blue line,
okay,
and they are.
it's at page 3, but you want me to read those two?
46, no, just
Okay.
cite it.
All right, so that's 1 through 6 in South Dakota law. Number 7, adequate precautions have been taken to ensure that roadways will not be negatively impacted. We're getting it out of the ditch. Number 8, recommendations from the Drainage Commission in the findings of fact. And number 9, such other factors the Drainage Board determines to be pertinent to the application. So
They have easements with Terry Schrum. They need an easement with Hirings and
Hirings and Harold Schrum.
Harold Schrum.
That'd be a number 8.
That would be a requirement. And then if it would cause any damage in the road ditch on 81, you'd be responsible to rock that or something. But it's sounds like it's rocked already, you wouldn't have to go too far anyway with.
Yeah, and, I wasn't able to make it when the contractor was down there, but we can sure talk to him and make sure he gets it as close to those as possible, you know, and then we can supplement as needed if needed, so.
Okay.
310. Number 1, drainage into receiving water courses which do not have sufficient capacity to handle the additional flow and quantity of water shall be considered to have an adverse effect. The applicant shall be responsible to provide sufficient evidence with third-party verification. Number 2, whether drainage is accomplished by reasonably improving and aiding the normal and natural system of drainage according to its reasonable carrying capacity, or in the absence of a practical natural drain, a reasonable artificial drain system is adopted. Number 3, the amount of water proposed to be drained. Number 4, the design and other physical aspects of the drain. Number 5, the impact of sustained flows. And number 6 would be recommendations from the Drainage Commission in the findings of fact. So those are all criteria to determine whether drainage will adversely affect lands of lower landowners.
It should improve. We're keeping it out of the road ditches, that should, you know, as much as possible, that should help the roads.
Did someone say that we're gonna be any surface inverts in this?
Any what?
Surface
Oh.
openings?
I
You
had
need to ask
asked,
about it.
I had asked the contractor about surface inlets, and he told me they'd be surface outlets.
Are you gonna put any intakes in, or it's all gonna be underground?
All underground.
Then let's specify that it stays all underground. They might need an air intake at the very top, but,
Well, that's
brick suction.
contractor, what has to do with
Okay, so those were all
that. Okay.
requirements.
Any discussion on this further?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this as in the findings of fact with the stipulation of the easements required before it goes to the drainage board.
Okay. Motion by John to approve it, pending the easements.
I'll second that.
Second by Craig. And a roll call vote when you're, is there any discussion again?
Oh, well, if you're, one thing that concerns me about this outlet size is the contractor says you're gonna have water coming back out a inlet. That tells me that this pipe isn't big enough.
Well, he's lower property there.
Yeah.
He would need a lift to get it up, to get it into the pipe.
Right, so why, and I'm not understanding why this inlet's gonna have water coming back out of it.
Well, if he tied into it, that pipe is,
He's telling, the inlet would be
Lower.
lower. Yeah, that makes sense, right,
Yeah.
right.
That's what he told me.
Yeah, okay, that's making
Who's the
some sense
contractor?
then, yeah.
Tim Kilmer is his name. Their horsepower tile, their horsepower drainage, they're up out of Beersford area.
So I'm seeing a main pipe here and inlet up here, and I'm like,
yeah.
you got water coming back out.
Mark had asked.
We have issues.
Mark had asked if he could tie in there, and that's what.
Right, right, yeah. You need a lift station
Yeah.
to get, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions?
No.
Roll call vote.
Just to clarify, the motion was they need to secure the easements before I put it on the agenda for the drainage board.
Before it is, no, not before it's put on the agenda, before it comes before the board. You can advertise, you can put it on the agenda, they just have to have the easements at the meeting. They can be signed 5 minutes before.
Okay, so it has to be done before it can be heard by the board.
Right.
All right, I'll work that.
Normally, the board won't approve it unless there's easements. Typically how that's done.
I think we've approved one recently without it, but it had to be before he'd give him
Give them a
the permit.
permit then, yeah.
Yeah, we
Sure,
did.
Sure.
That's your choice.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay,
You good to go?
yep.
Okay, Gunderson,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Ely,
Aye.
Kurt. Doomer,
Aye.
Close.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Thanks for all your hard work on this. I know it's been a long process.
Thank you.
Not an easy one, but I think you got a really nice project there. It's,
Thank you.
You know, these easements, my neighbor and I are gonna be coming and doing something, and there was already some easements in place between the previous landowner and my father. Well, now my father is passed, and the landowner that I bought from is passed, and the new landowner, oh, to heck with it, we're gonna have the easements with us, just to make sure that this whole thing is done and done right.
okay. Time being 7:50. The next item on here is Chris Barkle and Randy Golden, drainage issue resolution process. Property described is lot BP 1, the southeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4, section 15, township 93 north, range 56 west, hereinafter referred to as Utica South Township, county of Yankton, state of South Dakota.
So what I have before in your packet is minutes from the county commission meeting. Those were draft, and I think the final minutes are a little more detailed after the state's attorney had looked at them. Basically, at your last meeting, we talked about, drainage resolution, board of resolution, what do we do with complaints? Well, after that, it had gone to the county commission. We found that it did not fit a board of resolution issue. It more fit into the drainage ordinance and a violation thereof. So the county commission met on it after your input. This is just the last meeting, we met at it. At that point, they decided it goes back to my lap, and I am to start enforcement proceedings or negotiations with the two affected landowners. I have talked to Mr. Golden. He's now threw out the idea of potentially putting in a grass waterway on the western edge of his property, and then adjacent to what I call the original berm, and then running that down into the south. So running along the west to the south, and then curving to the east on that southern berm, and then going into the ditch, which is the natural drainage way there. The true natural drainage way actually is then across that field into Heine Family Farms, and then it goes across that field into Sisters Grove, which is north of River Aspen, that development down there just below the bluff, which had to sandbag for the last flooding down there. Well, a lot of the people down there had to sandbag. There are also some other issues going on there of Randy did meet with the highway superintendent, and they came and found some culverts, or a culvert, did some other things, so he's in a position of this spring water being able to block a culvert and send the water down that field. So there may be another drainage complaint at some point coming up, but I will try to.
Block a culvert?
Onto his property. Right?
He had a culvert onto his property because he put that in to try to get spring water into his ponds, because those ditches are all wet. When that campground was developed, they opened a whole bunch of springs. Too much. So he is now, 52 million gallons of water is what he's claiming is coming through there right now.
And this is all stuff he's done to himself?
Yes, some of it. Not the springs that we issued, he didn't open those up. So that his culvert,
his drainage, not the natural drainage, he put upon himself. So he met with the highway superintendent, so he somewhere can block this culvert. There's 3 other ones that they found that were buried, or 2 or 3, I can't remember exactly. So, I mean, that's not on this issue. So there is just a mixture of drainage issues down in that kind of a hotbed of drainage down there. So right now, I'm going to attempt to negotiate a resolution between the 2 parties, Mr. Barkle and Mr. Golden, and hopefully get the water, as Mr. Barkle informed me, I mean, that's not just his field, that's everything basically from the other side of Deer Boulevard, where they're putting in all these impervious surfaces and all these homes out there with really no drainage plan whatsoever. So all those new homes and streets are getting dumped, and they either come and Deer Boulevard can't handle it, so some is going there, and the rest of it, all those big storage units and whatever are draining west to east, following the riverbed, and here they come. So that's why he said his farm field can fill up pretty quick.
Is that floodplain down in there?
Well, it is. It's Missouri riverbed, so I think naturally it's a floodplain, but no, the actual floodplain really, I just looked it up, stops short because when you go towards the river, a lot of those properties, they have a berm built, and they actually cut a hole in the berm to get their driveways in. But if you do your standard, floodplain, it stops short of some of those houses. There's an RV park there between River Aspen and such. That falls into the floodplain. And some others, I was looking at that the other day. So that southernmost part of homes close to the river, that's floodplain. But then there's an elevation via a berm primarily that stops the floodplain from going too far into there. Even with the new flood projection maps, it's not in there. But it's just the natural flow of water that is supposed to come all the way around, past Randy's, or through Randy's, however you want to put it, and cross that ditch and go into Sisters Grove and dump into the Missouri River.
So, before any more building is approved down in that area, maybe they should be made to put some drainage in there.
So he is backing up this property from draining that way right now.
I mean, before any more permits are given down there.
The Barkle ground is to the west of the fish farm?
Yes.
Yes. Immediately west.
Yep, so out in the ditch along Timberland, there he has put in a drain, and he's got a valve on it. So normally, these springs over here cross, come down the ditch in and fill his pond with clean artesian water. Well, if he's looking to route this way, he's probably gonna close this so it all goes to the culvert, and Heine's own this. And there's a natural drainage there. That is where the water is supposed, but for this, all of this would normally go that way, and all those artesian wells would go that way as well. So far, he's been taking the water.
Yeah, it sounds like it's natural drainage.
It is natural drainage, and,
An artesian well isn't a natural
well,
source.
but his argument is when they dug into the hillside to expand the campgrounds, they made the flow increase.
But
And
that's
you
not
could
the
literally.
issue. The issue is with Golden and,
Parker.
Yep, I'm just giving a bigger picture. So that's, so there's a lot of moving parts in this discussion, but between here, this is where he has put a berm there. And, and that's Mr. Barkle's argument is he is stopping the natural flow off of his property.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, you can see it there? Yeah,
yeah.
oh, the berm, you got it.
No, you can see the natural flow. You can see the
But
old
looking
thing.
forward
yeah,
to the
it's
next
clear.
issue is going to be if he plugs this, then all of this water is going to go over Mr. Heine's property. So as Mr. McGinnis has said, the story probably won't end here if that happens.
Well, if he's rerouting water and things, he's doing drainage without a permit. I mean,
Well,
technically,
but he's on surface and our ordinance doesn't address surface water.
Not really.
There's something about surface drains a little
Yeah,
bit.
if you read it, it says surface water's covered, whether that's intended or not, because I did read it to see.
Yeah,
if
the
we
surface
had
drain is a
jurisdiction.
drain. And that's where we're splitting hairs on this, is he blocking a drain by building this berm? And looking in the ordinance, technically that is a drain. So, and it just, as I'm saying, yes, it's Barkle Golden, but I'm just stating that it's, when we dig into this, it's Barkle, but Barkle's getting the water from 2 miles away, which is following the natural riverbed, coming to him, so that field can, that, I don't know,
We're lucky
40.
We have an expert in this sort of situation. Same thing you
Am I
got.
supposed to look this way?
Well, you mean watershed.
Yeah. Same problem.
Yeah, I haven't gotten anything back from the attorney on the proposed watershed yet. But yeah, our Turkey Valley ditch up there, 2,200 acres of it that it runs through pays for the maintenance and cleaning, but 6,500 acres contribute to it. And that's where we want to form a watershed. Those of us that are all paying for it.
Oh, you want to form a drainage district?
A watershed,
Watershed drainage district, the whole thing.
yeah.
Right, so you have to identify the benefiting properties, and
Which will
then you
cross
can
the
tax
line
them.
in Turner County also. About
Then-
2,600 acres of it's in Turner County.
Then you can tax them, just as they just did, basically east of the Gayville area, recreated theirs a couple of years ago. And that's been working well. They borrowed money, cleaned up the ditch, and fixed the pipes out the Gayville, and it's been working good for, I think that was maybe 10 years ago already. I lose track of when I did that project, but
See, when was that study done? Back in the 70s? When they proposed Yankton County, Bonham County, Clay County, it was a humongous watershed to take care of all of these issues. But it died, they tried it twice, and there's papers in your office about it.
well, if they didn't do it in the 30s and dug it by hand, it's gonna be hard to get it done in today's cost. You know, people just don't wanna pay that much. But, so anyhow, the Barkle Golden situation's in my lap. It's gonna be, it's not going to be easy, I think, to get that done, because I think one action is gonna cause a reaction, because Timberland does not go all the way to the river. So you get to the end of that, guess where it goes? To the east, across the Heine Farm Ground and through one of their major center pivots and central farm operation, and then cuts close to some houses, and then ends up in Sisters Grove. But we'll put potentially a lot of acres wet that are now completely dry, minus this, you know, water that we see with rain and such. So that's where we're at on that project. So it's, the Board of Resolution is not involved. It's a zoning issue now, a drainage issue with the drainage administrator, myself. Rob really didn't offer, Clemish didn't offer too much, but I guess if it gets too deep, then we'll use him to help me get out of it, or whoever the next person is.
Dennis Duncan, the attorney from Parker/Sioux Falls.
Oh, Denny, yes.
Yeah, he's the guy that's got our paperwork.
So that's an update on that project, or situation, I guess, not a project.
I have no magic wand for you.
I know. I'm well aware there are no magic wands.
Still trying to find my memo.
Okay, do you have any other administrative items for us, or?
No, just trying to keep going in the straight direction here.
Okay, time is 8:05, 8:04, is there any public comment? This is time for
I have one quick question.
Mark. Come on up.
Speaking of water drainage, this is my road ditch last spring. This is my road ditch this spring. Somebody went in with a skid loader and dug a ditch.
In the highway
We
ditch
were
of the
gone.
county.
We were gone. We came home, somebody had been in there, dug a ditch through the road ditch to drain the water back along the Westerville Road, and we have no idea who did it. I contacted the.
I don't mean to laugh, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
Okay.
contacted the state highway department to ask them, because I have one of my neighbors bail that, and it is all rutted up. I have to get a permit to clean that mess up.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
But
Yeah, I got it.
now, I think Francis knows who did it. I will not mention his name here, but I think Francis knows who did it. So,
Well, actually, their water probably is high enough that it wouldn't have to do anything there.
yeah, it wasn't Francis.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't Francis,
Okay.
but I think Francis knows who did it.
Is this your shadow in the picture?
It is. I took that on Monday morning.
Let's see the first
Are you contemplating something here? It really looks like you're.
Taking the camera.
But it looks more like that.
Yep.
It's not that bad, Mark, it's not that bad.
And they really made a mess.
Yes, they did.
Who did it benefit? Who do you think? One of the neighbors or the state?
You got Francis's map?
We've got one here.
right there.
Who owns this acreage, or these acres right here?
I couldn't tell you.
Which one, where is it? Just west of you?
Just north of
To
me,
the north.
right across from Westerville Road. I think that's who did it.
Skullduggery, I'm shocked.
So, anyways, what are my options?
Oh, it's a county ditch, isn't it?
Kind of
And
ditch
the
that turns into
state.
a state ditch.
The state would have.
One step at a time. Have you
And the
talked-
state has told me that I can't do anything without a permit.
Have you talked to the county?
I emailed them and have not gotten a response.
I'll bet that you'll have one very soon.
Well, maybe the county was trying
Is this
to
where I look at
get the
my
water off the roadways.
The state said they didn't move the dirt, and I'm guessing the county did.
Well,
No, we didn't do that.
Because I'm guessing the county would have
99%
asked,
didn't do that.
asked permission, or told us they were doing it.
Mark, we used to have a pasture over by Irene, and it was a summer pasture, so
Yeah.
been down there in the spring early and fixed fence. Hadn't been back there for 6 weeks, and I came back, and we're gonna haul cattle the next morning, and I come down, and somebody had dug through the driveway in a 4-foot wide, 4-foot deep trench right down through the middle of my driveway. The cattle trucks were supposed to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Good luck with that, right?
And there was a lot of, I don't know who did that, John. It got filled in by the next morning at 8 o'clock.
So, anyways,
So I understand.
I think I still have your phone number at home.
okay,
I do. If not, would you, so it's not on recording, just write it down there. Don't want the whole county calling you.
Oh,
That's how my number got out.
8675301, right?
all right. Thank you.
yeah.
You wanna give me a call, John?
If, just wait around a minute afterwards.
Should we
We're
put
about
these,
done.
Anybody else have any comments to make? Or
You can put it wherever you
public
want.
comment? Okay. Not, Brian?
I have a question. This has come up a couple times. Has anyone gotten involved or discussion on a drainage issue over on Deer Boulevard by Stringers and Sealand and all over there? Has that come up with anybody?
Oh, wait a minute.
Tom Naker and
Who did I talk to about that?
Inlet basins and trying to put in Deer Boulevard, and Deer Boulevard is backing up onto Stringer's property.
Are you talking on the cliff or down below?
Down below.
Down below the sea level.
Somebody putting in a building and there's a parking lot and things don't drain too well,
Yeah, and they wanna put in catch basins and run across his,
somebody else's lot, yeah. But I don't remember who I talked to.
but it hasn't been an official action.
No, but it wasn't one of the parties involved.
Well, it's gonna be another one that, I think Mike Sedlacek and I will go meet with the parties and see if we come up. We did clean up the Hilltop and Kaiser Road situation. I updated you on that. There's a big drainage issue there. It's been there for years. Won't drain the ditches. DOT needed to come on board. The one that built a dam was blocking up the ditch, softening the road, and we got him to get rid of his dam. He agreed to put in 2 culverts, and one, he chopped up all that concrete. He'll saw cut that to put a culvert through there. County will set the culverts if he pays for them. And we're gonna fix the north side of the ditch so that drains out of there, coordinate with DOT, so, but that's gonna be August, September, but at least it's gonna keep the neighbors there happy and get that water out of the ditches. I mean, the ditches were
Horrible, really bad.
right up to the driving surface.
It
on
was a
both sides.
violation.
So people are willing to pay for a new culvert and get it to the right regulation side where they can work with it. So we'll try to do the same thing. Figure out what's going on Deer Boulevard to get that water out of there, because what's going on now is not working. Not that I go looking for a problem, but if people ask, we need to look at it. I got enough.
Well, these roads, any place there was water on either side of the roads, they're just destroyed.
You don't need to rebuild Deer Boulevard anytime soon.
Well, then they could widen it out like it's supposed to.
But you know, it's no different here than we were doing a dirt job for house building up at 5200 block of West Madison there in Sioux Falls. And there's a this was all farmland at one time. And it's natural creek and there's houses here and here, here. And we're scraping, doing dirt, and all of a sudden the boss yells at me on the radio, "Stop, right where you're at, stop." Well, I seen a pickup over on the road and I couldn't read what was on the side of it, and all of a sudden the boss is gone with him. Well, they had their retention catch pond for silt, and it was already through. These houses were built and people were living in them. And the retention pond was on the back of this guy's lot, and he didn't like it. So he went and rented a mini excavator, went through his lawn and opened up that so it could run. And of course, Signature Developing was the ones that were on the initial hook for the $1,000 a day fine. And of course, the Signature looked at my boss and said, "Have you got a skid loader or anything here that you can come down and fix this?" And he goes, "Yeah." "Well, we'll pay you to come and fix this." And the homeowner is sitting here going, "It wasn't me. How did they get through your fence?" To get to it, you know. Yeah, no, but boy, I mean, you just all of a sudden had all this machinery just were stopped. It's
Okay, I guess having no more public comment, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Adjourn. Motion by John, second by Sherry. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.